Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's good to be here in Ankara. Obviously, a very important meeting. Looking forward to deliberations in the main hall tomorrow, of course, with the leaders and the presence of all 32 leaders, I'm told. So very encouraging. Canada is very active today. Panels, agreements, letters of intent. We're moving forward in a way we haven't seen in years on the NATO front, so it's very encouraging, and I'm glad to be here. I'll take your questions.
How significant is the GlobalEye move by NATO, do you think?
I think it's a very big step forward. It indicates that there's an interest in a product that Canada is looking at building. Obviously, we're putting the final touches on the design, questions around engineering, the economics of this aircraft. Between Bombardier and Saab, it's a very promising step for us. Of course, we're looking for our own capabilities in this sphere, and if NATO is looking for these capabilities, it may very much extend to 31 other member nations in the alliance.
The DSRB, why aren't Germany and Norway part of this?
Well, listen, we're starting. We have got a good core of member states now who have signed on. We're putting the final touches on design. We've got to look at the actual charter of the bank, the bylaws of the bank. This takes time. I've got some experience personally, having done this with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development in London when I was practicing law there. These things take time. We'll bring in other partners as we go along. We'll be meeting with other heads of state. The Prime Minister is making these overtures now. I'll be meeting with my counterparts. So we're looking forward to it. We're very encouraged.
Quand on pense aux 114 milliards qui ont été promis pour aider l'Ukraine d'ici la fin de 2026, à quel point le Canada va s'investir là-dedans? C'est-à-dire, quelle sera la part du Canada? Est-ce que c'est sûr à 100% qu'on fait partie de cette aide-là?
Mais c'est sûr et certain qu'on fait partie de l'aide qui va éventuellement être déterminée en équipe, c'est-à-dire entre les 32 pays membres. C'est une question de montant et de quelle sorte de contribution. Est-ce que c'est des contributions au niveau de véhicules? Est-ce que c'est des véhicules médicaux? Est-ce que c'est les munitions achetées par exemple avec le système fourni par les Américains? Tout ça, c'est à voir. Donc, on a encore du progrès à faire avec nos partenaires. Mais le Canada est là depuis 4 ans. Le Canada va toujours être là pour l'Ukraine.
Et l'Ukraine aussi, actuellement, on n'est pas capable de faire face aux attaques russes parce qu'on n'a plus de missiles patriotes. Est-ce qu'il y a des discussions avec vos homologues américains? Est-ce qu'il va y avoir des discussions?
Évidemment, il y a toujours des discussions avec les Américains. Il y a un système qui s'appelle le PEARL, P-U-R-L, le PEARL Package. C'est un genre de rassemblement d'équipements, de munitions fournis par les Américains. C'est vendu à 500 millions par part, c'est-à-dire par paquet, si je peux dire. Donc, le Canada est en train de revoir où on joue là-dedans, quelle contribution, est-ce qu'on se joint avec d'autres pays pour acheter un package Pearl? Est-ce que ça comprend les missiles, les systèmes que les Ukrainiens demandent? Tout ça, c'est à voir et c'est les discussions qu'on a ensemble entre les 32 pays.
Minister, have you had an opportunity to speak with your South Korean counterpart about yesterday's decision, and what's the reaction that you've been getting from the Koreans?
I have not had a chance yet. I don't think my counterpart is coming to this meeting, but I know the Prime Minister just had a bump-in meeting with President Lee, and they had a very good exchange and very encouraging. You know, look, it's obviously when you have two bidders, one bidder is going to be chosen, the other will not, although that second bidder is in reserve right now, depending on the negotiations for the contract. Look, there's a lot of cooperation possibilities here between Canada and Korea. We're going to continue building that relationship, and that's exactly what the Prime Minister mentioned to President Lee.
South Korea has a very large arms industry and has been aggressive in selling armored vehicles, for example, to allies such as Poland and Australia. Is that something Canada would consider?
Well, I know in the Polish case, in fact, the decision was made by Poland through its defense industrial strategy to strike an IP deal with South Korea and get the intellectual property from Korea and manufacture on Polish soil. That's a decision they made. That's not a decision that we've made in our defense industrial strategy. Look, we're here in Turkey. Turkey's becoming a major manufacturer of weapon systems and arms. I had a long meeting this morning with my counterpart here in Turkey. So there is lots of opportunity for Canada to cooperate with Korea going forward. We'll see how this evolves in due course.
So there's also a program that is long-standing to replace utility vehicles, the light utility vehicle program. There was an invitation to qualify to members of the defense industry. That was canceled on Friday. Why?
I have to get back to you with details on that. I'm not sure what the reasoning for that was. I'm not even sure what light armored vehicle contract or procurement you're talking about. There were several in play, right?
The light program.
I'll have to get back to you.
Just going back to the submarines, the Germans are saying it's going to be a unified fleet, that Norway and Germany are each going to have 6 submarines, plus the up to 12 by Canada. So is that your understanding? Is this going to be a unified fleet?
My understanding is in choosing the German-Norwegian manufacturers, there's a degree of interoperability that's inherent in the choice. It means that we can each share crews, for example, on the submarines. It means that we can look to sustainment through our 3 countries. It means that there's a high degree of interoperability. It means that we can cooperate more fulsomely when it comes to the Arctic. There are a number of features that emanate from the choice. The extent to which we actually conduct that cooperative approach remains to be determined.
Does Canada need an Arctic naval base for these submarines if it's an Arctic program?
Look, we're re-examining all of our investments in the Arctic right now. One of the wonderful things about this fleet is they're capable of going significantly longer distances than previously. We had a deep sea port built by the previous government some 15 years ago in Nanisivik. That did not work and is not working, and we are decommissioning it. We made the decision. So right now we're looking at a situation where we've got refueling capacities, we've got major icebreakers being built to be able to spend a lot of time up and down through the Arctic. And of course, these submarines will be able to do the same, 28 to 30 days at a time.
Is one of the themes this week? Is one of the themes this week the need to demonstrate that as the Americans draw down their force posture in Europe, the rest of the alliance can step up in an effective manner? Even President Zelensky sometimes sounds like he's losing patience with the alliance.
As the Minister of Defence for Canada, I don't see it that way. I see Canada executing on a plan to put into place a defence industrial strategy to help meet our needs for our Canadian Armed Forces, their operational requirements, while giving rise to an enhanced investment in a defence sector, industrial sector. We intend to make of our defence industrial sector in Canada a major player in the economy. If this contributes to a deeper, more robust capacity inside NATO, that's a good thing. But that's not our objective here. Our objective here is to continue showing to our NATO partners that we are moving forward. We are making significant investments. We've just chosen the submarines. We are building out our economy in this area. We're procuring lots of goods and services. We're rebuilding our bases. We've extended our stay in Latvia by 3 years. We're making massive investments. So to be frank with you, look, there's a dialogue here about NATO coming together. I'm relatively new to this portfolio, but I can tell you in the last 12 or 13 months, the extent to which NATO has come together as a gathering alliance of states is quite remarkable.
The American change, though, is driving almost all of that. Surely you can't be saying that the American change is not having an impact here.
Look, lots of things have changed. Lots of things have changed. Lots of things have changed. The German government went back to amend its constitution to allow it to spend more than 1% of its GDP on defense. The Baltic states are spending 7 to 9% each because they're obviously within proximity of a war which is being prosecuted. There are many drivers right now that are at play. Europe's rearming and reinvesting to an extent that we haven't perhaps even predicted over the last several decades. So there are many drivers in the change that's in play. The United States has made certain decisions. It is announcing that it's moving more into the Indo-Pacific, so be it. Canada has a NATO responsibility. Canada has a Arctic responsibility. Canada is also extending into the Indo-Pacific. That's concomitant with the investments that we're making in defense. So it's a mixture of forces, to be frank, that are helping us move this thing forward.
What percentage of GDP do you plan to spend in this fiscal year on defense?
Look, we've hit the 2% target, and I know there are discussions about where the actual data is to substantiate the percentage. The normal practice is that information is provided to the Parliamentary Budget Officer. Then that information finds its way into a budget document. And that's exactly what the Canadian people will see when the budget is produced.
Last question.
Canadian media, please. Evan, or Murray.
Can I ask a question? The United States has revised its contributions to the NATO force model. It's not going to be sending as much equipment in case of war or an emergency. European allies have apparently stepped up. Has Canada been asked to contribute more to the NATO force model?
Canada has committed to achieving 5% by 2035.
Not
Canada has
spending, sir, not defense spending, NATO force model.
Yeah, look, all of this is under review. All of this is under negotiation. All of this is under discussion. That's the nature of this alliance. That's why we'll have these meetings tomorrow. But Canada right now is executing on a plan. The plan is to make sure that we achieve our 2% target, which we did. Make sure that we make these large procurements in record time, let's be honest, which was accomplished. Now we're moving to the 3.5% spend by 2029, and I believe that I know we are well on our way to achieving that. And those numbers will be found in the budget document in due course. So we're moving forward, and we'll adjust as we have to.
Last question, Evan. Sorry, this is for Canadian media. Thank you.
Just 1.2% to 2%, and Canada aims to get to 5%.
Yes.
Can you just say, do you think that the Canadian public is aware of the degree of sacrifice that it's going to have to make to achieve that kind of expenditure on defence? And where is that money going to come from? What has to be given up to get to that?
I think the Canadian people realize that there's been a lot of change. I think they realize that our geography no longer protects us as a matter of course. I think they saw through this recent war in Iran, that Iran, for example, deployed a missile which traveled over 5,000 kilometers, having announced to the world for 2.5 decades that they had no such capacity, that they only had a missile that could travel 2,000, maybe 2,500 kilometers. The Canadian people know that the threat landscape has changed. The Canadian people understand that there are foreign interference activities going on. They understand that we need to make these investments.
Do they understand where the money is going to come from? Do you yourselves understand?
Yes, we do. We're growing our economy. We're making major investments in the defense sector to generate more wealth, create more jobs, and provide the resources we need to accomplish this goal. And we're well on our way. I mean, we have done things in the last 12 months which I think the Canadian people are very supportive of. I think they saw the announcement yesterday for the submarine choice, and I think they said that's a very positive thing for Canada's security and sovereignty. And they're with us. I travel this country from coast to coast to coast, and I hear from them, please keep moving forward. Please keep us safe. Please keep us secure and sovereign. And I think we have a plan that we're executing on, and so far our plan is working.
Thank you, everyone.